the last 20 years, which is pretty amazing. And lastly, Beijing had the honor of hosting the world's greatest athletes in the 2008 Summer Olympic Games. So China truly has grown to become a world power, and as every hero knows, with great power comes great responsibility. Do we have time for questions now, or are we holding those for later?
Since we have 3 presentations, why don't we, after finishing all the presentations, and then open up the floor for collective questions?
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Great.
Okay, awesome. 谢谢。I think we'll shift to our second presentation, concluding coding English.
Let's see. Thanks, guys. I'm going to be presenting on three movies that have a little bit of a different style, but I kind of realized some similarities while you guys are giving the presentation. That I hope that you guys see some of the similarities to this presentation. Clint, before I came up here, mentioned that my presentation has a lot of big words here. That's totally true. So I want to go through and explain what my topic means. I chose the topic for this academic paper, Modernization and Rural to Urban Friction, Conflict, Nostalgia, and Catharsis in Chinese Film. And I looked at 3 films, The Road Home, Not One Less, and Beijing Bicycle. So let's first go over what I mean by conflict, nostalgia, and catharsis. In any country or society that has seen rapid industrialization, most of the cultural change associated with industrialization has happened within large urban centers, with rural centers not changing as quickly. And so there's often a conflict that rural people see as they come into contact with changing culture in urban centers. And so with the protagonists in these films, each one of them are rural characters who face some sort of conflict as they come into conflict or contact with culture change in the big cities. As these characters go through these conflicts, these challenges, they each have some sort of stage in their challenge where they think back to the way things used to be, or think back to how life is in their rural villages, and they gain strength from their old life. And then finally, they have a state of catharsis or realization where something in their challenge helps them to maintain their rural identity and come to terms with a changing world. I think it's really similar to finding the elixir that the last presentation talked about. So let's go over each of the films. And just so you guys know, I really enjoyed all 3 of these films. I would highly recommend, if you guys haven't seen them, to look them up sometime. But this first one is called The Road Home. The movie begins with this man right here as the narrator of the film. And it actually begins in black and white. It shows the present as black and white. And he's living in a big city, but he grew up in a rural village. And he's called home because his father recently passed away. And he's, in this picture here and this one, he's talking with his mother over what to do about the funeral. The mother really wants to bring the coffin with the husband home from the city, not only just driving in a car, but actually carried on the shoulders along the road home, so that he can remember how to find his way home. It's an old cultural practice. Unfortunately, the mayor of the city tells the narrator that all the young men have moved to the city, and there's no more young men to be able to carry the coffin. And so this is the conflict of the movie, that here is this old tradition the mother wants to follow, but changes in the world have made it seemingly impossible. And so the son begins to reminisce about the past. He thinks about the story of how his parents met. And the movie changes a little bit. All of a sudden it shows the past, and it's in vibrant colors. We've got the mother here, a young 17-year-old girl, I believe, who's the most beautiful girl in this little village. And she catches glimpses of this young man who who has just barely moved into the village, who's going to be the new school teacher. And it shows a story of them falling in love. She loves him because of his dedication to the students. It shows a really simple love story that I really like. After they meet, they're not able to marry for a time because the Cultural Revolution, which is going on in the cities, it keeps them apart. But they're able to overcome the events that are going on in the cities and get married and have a happy life together in this small village. And so the son at this point, he realizes the importance of these traditions to his mother. And so he goes to the mayor and states that he'll pay for anyone who will come and carry the coffin. An amazing thing then happens. Dozens and dozens of people arrive at the funeral and offer to carry the coffin for free because of the effect that this man, the narrator's father, has had on their lives. They're all his students over the years. This picture here shows the past picture of the narrator's father's classroom and the present picture. You can see how much things have changed throughout the years. The son, at the very end of the movie, does something very important. He goes and he teaches in his father's classroom one last time. He decides that it would be very important for his mother to maintain part of his identity and to do what his father used to do and teach this class one last time. And they were able to raise enough money to one day build another classroom. So this next movie was actually directed by the same person, so it has a lot of thematic elements that are very similar. This is called Not One Less. It's about a young girl, this one right here, who is 13 years old, and she is asked to substitute an elementary school class for a month. And so obviously she's pretty young, but this village doesn't have a lot of people that can help out. She has a little bit of a conflict when this student here, who is the troublemaker of the classroom, is sent off to work in the city. In this scene here, the previous teacher is telling this girl that if she can not lose one more student to the city, then she'll get paid extra money. And so when this troublemaker leaves, she decides that it's up to her to go into the city and try to find him. And of course that she finds a couple problems. She's never lived in the city before. She has no idea how city life works. These two pictures here are two scenes of her looking for this lost student in this massive city. She asks for help from people, but most people just tell her that she should give up. Soon, you can tell that there's a little transition in her life. She originally comes to the city to find the students so that she could get paid a little extra money, but then it becomes an emotional issue. She's lost in the city, and her only connection to her rural village is this lost student. And so it becomes a quest to find to be reunited with her old life. Fortunately for her and for the lost student, a television station finds her and likes her story, likes the idea of this quaint rural girl who is looking for this lost student. And so they help her find the troublemaker and then reunite them together in the small village. And these two pictures are of the happiness that comes from the whole class being reunited. One of the most powerful end scenes is when the reporters are interviewing this young substitute teacher and the lost student. They asked the young student, what was your biggest impression of the big city? And they're kind of surprised with his response. He says, I'll never forget that I had to beg for food. And it just causes the reporters to go silent for a bit. And so this young girl here, her eventual realization at the end here was that she could be a good teacher by working hard and by helping these students and by appreciating their life in the village. The last movie I want to talk about here is called Beijing Bicycle. This one has two main characters, one from the city and one from rural life. This right here is Gui. He has just barely come to the city from a rural village, and he has the dream of working really hard and earning a fortune in the city. And so he gets hired onto this company as a bicycle messenger. This guy here is also a 17-year-old. His name is Jian, and he wants a bike really bad because he wants to impress his girlfriend here. And so while they're the same age, they have a very different background and different personalities. Conflict happens when Gui loses his bicycle because he has no idea. He's clueless about city life, just like the young substitute teacher was in the other movie. And his bike is stolen. And meanwhile, Jian steals money from his dad to buy a bicycle and just happens to buy a stolen bicycle. And so conflict happens when Gui finds his old bike and they begin to fight over the same bicycle. Two boys, two backgrounds, and only one bicycle. And they fight over it for a good portion of the movie. Near the end of the movie, they come to terms with each other. Jian begins to understand why Gui really wants this bicycle so that he could work hard and live in the city. And Gui begins to understand why this bike might be important to Jian. And so they come to terms. Unfortunately, unlike the other movies, this one ends in tragedy. There's one last act of selfishness where Jian attacks this boy who's stolen his girlfriend, and this boy sends his gang to go beat the two of them up. They just happen to be together at the time, switching bicycles, and it ends with the bicycle being destroyed. And there's a really powerful scene where Gui gets up and looks at this broken bicycle and just turns away from Jian and walks away silently. It's certainly not a happy moment, but it's still a moment where he has come to an understanding about the young people in the city, about their delinquency and how different they are from him. And he actually comes to understand why they are the way they are if he's not happy with it. And so in conclusion, I've chosen 3 pictures here that I think really capture the mood of each film. Each of these characters had some sort of conflict with changing culture associated with this big city. And each of them reminisced and thought about the way things used to be, about their rural life and gained strength from that. And in the end, each of them came to a greater understanding of not only the changing world, but who they are. And so those are those 2 movies.